Welcome to Creativity-Hive's weekly program. I'm Miriam Haugen, and I am one of the co-founders of Creativity-Hive. We help videographers achieve massive editing skills through one-on-one coaching and live group coaching. And today we have new things in Premiere Pro that Neil and Mo are going to share with you. They have lots of things to talk about. Hello, guys.
Hi, Miriam.
Hello.
I'm going to just remove myself and let you guys have at it, okay? Have fun.
Thank you. Thank you, Miriam. Good.
Well, the fine folks at Adobe have just released some major changes for import and export in Premiere Pro, but it's in the public beta thing. Now, in your Creative Desktop, your Creative Cloud app, you can always get the betas if you go to the public beta. Let me get my, okay, come up here, bring up my Creative Cloud app, and get that onto the, okay, so if you go to the Creative Cloud app, you go down to the beta app section here, and you can update, add any of the beta apps you want to have that are available in their public beta. And in the Premiere Pro beta that they released yesterday, they're releasing almost a new version every day in the betas. But the one that they released yesterday, they have some changes out in the import and the export boxes, and it's a very different thing. So it's designed to look much more like on the import. It's like you're working with Premiere Rush, or almost even more like Lightroom, where you've got the navigating things to the various drives and media locations on the left side here, and then you have the main area in the middle is a thumbnail area, which you can, of course, as always, make them smaller or larger. You can set it for a grid view or a list view. You can say what kind of file types you want displayed, the little funnel thing there. And then import settings, you can create a new sequence and name it and all. And one of the things you can do, you notice they have on the bottom here, it says select media to import. Well, you can, one of the ways you can do it is just bring things down, and you notice now that's now an icon over here. And if I brought this one of the kid kicking the football next, come on. Yeah, that then appears next, and you can just click on them here. You don't even have to drag them, and now they're added down to the bottom. And then you can say import, and you can create a sequence if you want, or you can just direct import. So it's different. You do a lot more by just looking and clicking, and less by you don't set sequence preferences or this kind of stuff anymore. But so that's their new imports thing. It's going to be a lot easier for a lot of people that are doing YouTube content and that sort of thing to work with, because it's not quite as technically oriented. The previous one, you were primarily working from a list of things and clicking on text items rather than files like this. So you can still import by drag and drop from your Finder Explorer or whatnot, but it is a new thing. Mo?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to share my screen with you. Maybe Miriam can help me with this. How does one share a screen?
Can't. Miriam, you're muted.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I had gone ahead and muted myself just to be safe. I think that if down at the bottom, there's a share.
Got it.
Do you see that?
Got it, yeah. So you guys can see my screen, right? So this is the Premiere screen? Are you guys seeing
Yes. Well, no,
Okay,
it's
so-
I'm seeing my screen still.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it should be. Yeah,
There we
should
are.
be seeing my screen.
There
Yeah.
we see it.
Okay, cool. So what's interesting when you're looking at this, I'll just pick these thumbnails up a little bit in size, is that unlike the traditional manner of going to file and import, so Command I or anything like that. So if I type in a Command I or Control I on a PC, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens here, right? So the traditional way of bringing in video files or footage has been changed slightly. Important to understand what's going on in this interface for new users. So on the left-hand side, as Neil has shown you, all this media that you can hover scrub over. This media comes packaged with this beta release, and it's stored on your local machine. So this is just kind of assets that you can kind of play around with initially, but it's just giving you an idea of what you can do. However, on the top you can see sample media, right? But this local drives here, you'd be able to select from here. As an example, if I go into there and I go into users and you can go into a desktop, and if your media is somewhere in one of these drives, you can import it from there. So that's the way to navigate if you don't really know how to navigate. So the import structure, the file structures of where things are, has been kind of, I would call it dumbed down, but I would call it, it's a bit more intuitive in terms of if you need to visually see where your stuff is. That's one thing that's important. The other thing that's important is you can see you've got this, like Neil said, if you want to bring in stuff, you've got this little box here. It's called a select box. So if I want to bring in that, and it gets added down here in this little place, and maybe that one, and then maybe that one, right? Now, very important to understand the following. The project name is now sitting at the bottom, okay? So you need to give it a name, and where is this? So we'll just call it test. And the project location, you'll have to, it now has gone down to the bottom. So we're gonna just go in here and just put it on the desktop, and I'll just put it in maybe just the untitled folder. Yeah, I'll just choose that. Okay. And the next important thing to note is you've got this little icon and this little drop down that says create new sequence. By default, it's here. It's set to on. Now, what happens with this, Neil, as you know, is that you have a sequence name that you can name your sequence right on import, so that's fine. But what happens in this case is that the sequence is based on the first clip that you chose. So it's going to be maybe that's the first clip. So the aspect ratio, the resolution, the frame rate and stuff is going to actually be based on that if you leave this on. So if it's blue in color, right, that's the import settings. If you deselect it and you don't say create new sequence, naturally you'll see with this drop down, it gives you a sequence name, but if you take it off, that drop down is still there. It gives you a sequence name, right? But it's not going to create a sequence for you. And when you create it, it's going to create no sequences. It's just going to simply import this footage that you've brought in, and then you can go through the traditional manner of actually bringing it in, one file at a time, and then setting what you want on when you bring it into Premiere, into the timeline, and you say, okay, maybe the third clip is where I want to base that on making a sequence. So it's important to understand these little things are hidden really pretty much in new areas. People need to understand where they are. It's very important to understand that. And the other thing is when you get in later, you'll see that you'll be able to star and favorite stuff. So starting and favoriting stuff would be a way for you to be able to choose clips that you're going to use maybe often, or you're going to use it. It's kind of content that you want to use more often than not, or you just want to use it again. So this import screen is when you launch Premiere Pro. This import screen is the first screen you see. It's not that traditional. So if I just kind of exit out there and I go back to the splash screen and I go to new project, that's what you get. That's the import. If I go to the edit screen up here, if I click on edit, it's completely grayed out. I cannot do anything. And export is also, there's nothing we can do. So we can't choose any of these. I can go back to home, which is the splash screen, right? We can open a Rush project, we can open a project and open a team project. But the traditional way of going to file, can you see file, new project, or sequence, so on, nothing's there. It's all changed. So if we go to new, oops, that's a glitch on my side. Might just be, yeah, no, is this a bit of a glitch for me? Do you think?
Looks like.
Yeah, beta app. So let me just quit that out and come back and see what happens. Okay, let's see.
There have been a couple things that people have reported on the beta forum, the public beta forum, that where they had they did 2 or 3 things and then it went a little weird. So they're still running down a couple things on it, obviously.
Okay, so let's see if on the second launch it actually works. A new project. Yeah, there you go. So that was a bit of a glitch, which will be rectified on public release. And then you got that same kind of stuff going on here. And once you do that, then you're going to get into the settings. So I'm just going to exit out there, and then I'm going to go back and just let Neil continue. And I'm just going to stop the screen share. Yep, Neil, you can take it away.
Okay, and I'm going to go back and show one thing that I did think was kind of nice about it. I have some favorites that I've had in the media browser in Premiere Pro. And if you notice up here in the top on the starred things, it's sample media. Well, of course, sample media is the stuff that came in with this new launch. But project media is my drive that has all of my main media for my all the projects I'm working on. And video exports is the drive folder to which I do most of my exports. And being as they were already favorited, it picked those up, and so they're already starred at the top. And so even when I first launched this, I could just click on the project media and go right to the folder where I was had been working. And of course, I can come down and I could pick any of these, like this one. I've got some video media on this drive. I could pick up something here, like say if I wanted to, I could do this OBS recordings folder and tell it to that I want to bring that up into the favorites. So
how would you favorite it, Neil?
Let's see, did that do it? Oh, you have to click the thing here. So you navigate to, that's right. Yeah, you have to navigate to something. And now if I say select that folder and now I click there, that folder is now added. That's right. You have to click up there. I forgot about that. Thanks for asking about that. But and you can unfavor it by clicking it, but it's clicking. You favor it by clicking somewhere. But it was nice though that it brought in my the things that I already had as favorites, because those are the areas, both the project media and the video export, the folders that I go to continuously, and so that saves me a heck of a lot of time. But if you want to have a longer project, I know some people that they have a favorites list that's takes up most of the screen, because they figure most of the time they're not interested in looking at the devices area down here where all the various drives. And so they have their favorites. They'll have like 10 or 12 folders out up here that they've got for set up for their favorites. But so I think we've kind of covered the import. Want to take a look at the export?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go for it.
So you go to the export tab, and when you first come up with it, it looks like, wow, it says, no preview available, destination not available, and everything's kind of grayed out. Well, because the very first thing you have to do in this new thing is select an export process here on the left. So like media file, a YouTube, and these are all sets of presets essentially. So you have presets for media, for just creating a general video file, presets for YouTube or Vimeo or whatnot. So you turn on like media file, and all of a sudden, bingo, you have options. And then you move over one column, and you can select the file name. It will, of course, give you a file name, or you can type in there. Then you've got the place where it's going to go, and you can click on that. And when you do, you get up, a typical folder that you can check to start working through to change it. And the presets, they have presets that are a lot fewer that pop up than you are used to seeing in the other one. So it's less confusing. However, you still can get to all of the various presets by coming down, clicking more presets, and you can get to this new preset manager they've got, where they have a lot of them. And notice that these are alphabetical. They're not by format. So you can change if you want, so that you can search by the format, which I think for an awful lot of people may be a handy thing to do. Name ARDZ, MXF op1A, that's kind of odd, but going to the format and searching by format is one thing. Or you can, of course, type in. So you can, like, say, put ProRes, and just type in Pro, and I've got all the ProRes options coming up. But back over in the general thing, they have, the typical match source, which are H.264 ones, and they've got high quality, they say there, but it is designed so that you can easily come in and add in, say, you want the a ProRes in QuickTime, and so we'll cancel out of here and just type in quick, and now we've got the ProRes, like, say, 422. Let's go just this 422, and okay. And now 4K DCI without audio. And for any of these, once you've set up your things, you can always save a preset, but you can come to down here and choose a format like the old way, and just look up and then it's kind of fiddly, but it is set up so that, again, you can save a preset, and then you use the preset manager. And but the thing I do like about it is the way they have these tabs down here. You've got the video tab where you can go in and select codecs in the old way that we're used to seeing. But they've done a pretty good job of setting up the options here in an order that you can use. And one of the things I will say, like most people, I have typically suggested that max render quality is only needed for when you're doing major resizing. But as Jarle Leopold recently found out, it also affects graphics. And so if you're doing any graphics that are scaled, or you're doing scaled images or anything like that, you probably should have it on. So I'm recommending to people to use maximum render quality on a lot more. More details, you get to advanced settings, the bit rate and everything, audio settings, captions, effects, metadata. But it's, and then you see what you're getting over here on the right. And of course, you can still export directly from Premiere Pro. You can send to Adobe Media Encoder. But I think one of the handiest things about it is, you notice I've got this one selected. Let's say I want to do YouTube. I can now add a YouTube export, set my YouTube settings. I could do, say, a Twitter export, and turn that on and do my Twitter settings. And now when I do export, it will run all of them, and it runs them in the background, just like if I send it to a media encoder. But I can have a whole bunch of them. So it's the export dialog, I think, is a far better dialog than the for usability than the import dialog they just added.
Yeah. Let me just share my screen, and let's go. Share. Alrighty. So this is I'm on the timeline. So while Neil was talking, I just did a very rough kind of basic, about 5 or 6 clips. All right, and then we have our work area up here. So once you in this, and you've got your sequence. So I'll just quickly rename this to master sequence. Okay, so we know where the sequence is. Once you select it, you can go file, export media, right? And when you go file, you can see immediately it takes you to the export screen. So the edit tab is up here, so that's easy to understand. If I look up here on the top as well, we've got a new tab, a little button which was there before, but it's up here now. The quick export, right? So quick export just allows you to quickly just grab some really quick stuff and just export it in whatever little presets are here, and then you can change it with preset manager as well. So that's quick export. Up here, which is brand new, is the workspaces. So you're not going to see the word workspace anymore. This was designed apparently because to save real estate. So what they've done is now they've put this guy up here, and you need to initially you'll probably ask yourself, what on earth is this? But you'll understand it once you use it. And next to this just provide feedback and etc. This is just full screen. And then your workspaces can be set from here, and then you can reset it to save layer and save it to the new workspace layout. So I like to kind of work and take this up to there. That's where I like to be. And I'm just gonna kind of, yeah, that's fine. And just go into my Vix controls, and I'll go into workspace, and I'm just going to save as a new workspace. I'll just give it my name, and that's your workspace down here, right? So we've got this little kind of edit going on, and you can see it's quite quick, not bad at all. Not working with anything big in terms of format, but file export works in the same way. Instead of doing file export, you just click this up here, which is the export button. So you go to the workspace or this export screen, and as Neil has showed you, you can choose all of them really. So this is something that is now going to not need batch processing in a media encoder. So you kind of really bypassing media encoder here. Very important to understand. You can be working directly from here for multiple exports at the same time, instead of having to wait for media encoder to open up and do its thing and all those kind of big and wonderful things. So if I look at, for example, I'll just kind of like deselect, because I wish I could drag and deselect all that. Can't do that right now. So if I go to one that's called, it's got a very weird name. It says media file, and you can see if I click the little buttons on here, it says add media file destination and rename destination. So we won't do that. We'll just do that. That's the file name, all right? And that's the location. So I'm just going to kind of put it on my desktop again. It's in there. So I'll just make a new folder. I'll just call it exports. And I'll create that, right? And the reason I'm seeing that is I'll just call it one as an example. Match, and then we've got this usual kind of stuff going on here. And then if you go to presets manager, lots of stuff going on in here, lots and lots of stuff. I mean, every codec probably known to man. I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling. You can see they packed it full with stuff that is kind of stuff you're used to. So we'll just call it high quality 720p. I'll go in there. H.264 is fine, and I'll just go in here and look at what I want to do. I deselect that. It says frame rate. right? Which is locked because we want to match the source. If I click match source, it's not going to change. It's matching the source. Render max quality, depth, that's fine. You're not worried about previews. And the proxies are now here. Use proxies, right? Or render alpha channels. Again, something new down here. I click on more, hardware encoding, software encoding. So you got to talk, depending on your graphics card, of course, you know, that kind of stuff. And as you scroll down, they've done a really great job in one aspect. Before, when you came to this window and you scroll down with your middle mouse wheel, it would scroll down until it got to a certain point, and then that scroll would start changing settings. And that was very frustrating for people because they'd like, I set it in a certain way and it's now changing stuff. So now, even though you scroll as much as you want to, it will not change the settings with the middle mouse wheel. And as you can see, there's a whole lot of new stuff going on here. Neil, this is kind of cool for you. I mean, encoding settings, Rec 2020 color primaries, high dynamic range. So HDR is in here, right? Which is awesome. So if I go, yeah, let's get software encoding. That should be now hardware encoding. Okay. Rec 2020 include HDR metadata. Lots of new stuff for high-end workflows. It seems this is being set for high. So there's a lot more options. As you can see, there's an audio tab down here. So you've got multiplexer in here as well. So there's a ton of stuff inside the export. So you've got effects. Here you go, Lumetri, right? Look at the lookup tables. Hidden if you don't go and explore. So you know, you can go and select and bring in your own LUT. I'm not sure if, Neil, you've explored this deep, but you can bring in your own lookup tables on export on its own, which is great. You've got image overlay as well. So you can go in and choose an overlay like a watermark, which is really cool. You don't have to use a titler to do it anyway. A name overlay as well. So there's a lot of really cool things going on here. And I would suggest everyone that plays with this goes in and kind of looks at it. Captions are also in here. So you got some captions that you can add in. You've got a metadata, which is really cool because you know add metadata right from the export screen, you know, in its own little tab. You've got actions. So there's actions. If you're going to script out, you can do actions. And the video tab, again, very simple. That's just what it is. Audio tab, simple audio, you know, formats and so forth. And if I go to more, you can see I've got my bitrate settings here set at 300, and you know, all that is fine. So what we'll do a media type. So the first one will be, you know, I'll just call this general media, right? And the next one, I'll go to YouTube, put it on, click on it, go into the folder, into exports, choose it, and just kind of call this YouTube. All right. Yeah. Now, one thing people should know, right, is that by default, it's going to ask you to sign in to your YouTube account, because you can send it out to YouTube directly from here if you want. We're just not going to sign in at all. We're just going to put it on there. Next, we're going to go to maybe, yeah, I think we can do that as well there. All right, so let's try one more. Let's go to a Twitter and do that. That in there. Call this Twitter. Oh, good. All right. So we've got these three that have been ticked, right? And if we go that, you can see down here it says also has a send to Adobe Media Encoder, which might be the end product or not. I'm not sure. And if I hit export, it's very quick. It's very, very quick. All right. So if I go back now into my untitled folder, I think it's this one. I'm not mistaken. No, it's not the one. That one. Right. So my exports are in here. There they are. One thing I've noticed, Neil, as you might see right now, you can see, and I made this comment to Francis during the presentation, was that you'll notice all my exports are exactly the same size, 1.9 meg. right? So that was something I'm kind of playing around with to see why it's exactly the same size. I'm not too sure why this is something that's, if it's a bug or if it's not a bug. So if I go back to the export and I take away everything and I go to general media and I just select it and do another export, I'll put it back there and I'll just call this general media _1 is fine. And then I'll just change my, let's just see if this will work. H264. Let's go down here. Now let's do that. All right, max, and let's go to 1084K. Right, see somewhere there. And I'm just going to export that. Let's see what happens. Should definitely be a little bit bigger, judging by the time it takes.
I will say it does seem to be a little quicker on the exports than what I was getting before.
Yeah.
So I think they have improved that, definitely.
The export engine has definitely been improved. So let's just see what it does. Okay. All right, so let's have a look at that one. Okay, 67 megs. Yeah, that's great. So look at it. Yeah, looks good. Let's look at the general ones. Yeah, tiny. Yeah, cool. So that's the kind of stuff that they've implemented. Some cool stuff, really nice stuff. I'm just going to stop sharing and hand it over back to you, Neil.
Yeah. Well, like one of the things that they have in the new system, if you do the beta, you notice you go up here and you see the little icon right here in the upper right corner that is the thing for forum. And if you click on that, it will take you directly to their public beta forum, where you can see what's going on and catch up on things. And I've been over to the forum and made a few comments, including in general, I like the export. I mean, you can even set your in-out points in the you can find where a clip in starts or something, and then set your in-out points here in the export window. So there's some things that are really kind of cool with it. But so I really kind of, in general, I like the export page. The new import page, a lot of people are probably going to like it. It's not one that's going to necessarily help me all that much. I'm not going to have a problem with it, but to me, the best part of this whole thing is the export. I think the new export system is actually quite a bit of an improvement.
Yeah, I think the import screen is going to be worked on considerably, because the viewers also will note that there isn't a transcode or proxy workflow on the import, so you have to do it after the fact, which
that's a pain.
It's a bit of a pain, but like we were told, they are thinking about adding in that feature or those features into the final. So hopefully, cross fingers, that's there, because that's so important. However, I mean, if you import the way you do, when I saw this initially, I was like, oh my god, this is counterproductive. It's not going to work for me, and I hate the import screen. But when I deselected create sequence, I just brought it in normally like I would. However, I do like the command and control I functionality, and not take, I don't particularly, I'm not a Final Cut Pro user, which this reminds me a lot of Final Cut in a way, big, icons and, all that kind of stuff. What I'm interested to see is they've done this sort of work. They've got, background rendering that's happening in place. What is important for me to see is on the final release, how does the final timeline playback look? Has it been improved? Because if it's got background rendering, there should be a huge improvement in speed. That would be important, especially with 4K stuff. Are they managing it? And then, of course, I'm very, very interested to see what happens with Mogits. With Mogits on the timeline, if you drop a Mogit and it gives you there's no red line on the top, maybe a quarter of a second, I'd be very impressed at the engineering. So it's a great new, I think, release for. I don't think the traditional editors are going to really be too excited about this. I know personally I might just keep an older version handy at all times because I like the way it looks. But development and technology has to march forward, and they're keeping abreast with the competition, which is no easy feat. I do think a lot of time and effort has gone into this, and it's great that Adobe is actually making this change. I admire them for it. I think there's a lot of potential in it. There's also a lot of potential for potentially disastrous features to be implemented, which might take hardcore editors like us into other NLEs. So they might lose some and they might win some. However, it's catered for, as you can see, it's catered a lot for social media. The whole thing's catered for social media.
Well, there's such a high volume of social media being done these days. And it's not just, the YouTubers. No, it's not just that. Because the people that do corporate are doing social media. The people that do corporate used to only do and deal with ad agencies, right?
Yes,
well,
yes.
Now you've got not only your commercials that you work with an ad agency for that you're going to be doing on television or streaming services or whatnot,
Yes.
but you have to have your media for the corporation's websites. You have to have the media for the corporation's socials, and some of these corporations have 20 or 30 different social accounts that they're running, and so the people that are working on that kind of thing are also hitting the socials heavily. So having this set up to do socials very quickly, and
Right.
that's going to be a huge thing for a lot of people.
What I didn't notice, Neil, is I'm not sure if you've got your screen up. When you go to choose a particular preset like a YouTube or whatever, is there an estimated export file size anywhere? I didn't notice it. That's so important for me to see, or any user really.
Yeah, in the let me bring up that screen. Down here in the export screen, there is an estimated file size,
Okay.
but as I've been doing stuff, that's just said unknown, and so oh, there we go. Now it's finally it got one. So it says now estimated file size 4 megabyte now. So it's with some it works. With some I've been watching it, and a lot of the time estimated file size is unknown. But there we've got one. So let's go high quality 2160K. Okay, now see on those it's working. On some presets it doesn't seem to know how to estimate it. On some it does. That's of course.
If you go to a QuickTime export, are you seeing anything on a QuickTime export? Because that used to never kind of work properly. I'd never see an estimated file size.
QuickTime estimated file size unknown.
Yeah, always.
So
okay, now on the match source adapt. Oh, match that, but that's back to one of the ones that they've got. Let's go down here to QuickTime.
Yeah, I know QuickTime could never give me an estimated size.
Yeah, that's a pain.
That's that's crazy.
So this is in beta still, right?
Yes.
So it's not live yet. Do any idea of when this is going to actually be out there?
Yes. Without being able to, without saying too much, generally the new applications are launched just at or after Max. We can't say, give a specific date because giving out information like that does affect things like the stock market prices and so forth.
Oh yeah,
so,
wow.
But just given, but from experience, there's always a new release at Max. So we may not
actually see this until until the fall then.
Well, it's available for anyone running the public beta, and I've been messing around with it, and it's a pretty stable beta. So for an awful lot of work, you can actually go ahead and work in the public beta and have it. One of the other reasons to work with the public beta is because they've got a transcription system that is much improved, and so for captions. So and they've opened up now in the public beta so that anyone can ask for the transcribing service. And what that is you you go into Premiere Pro, you have your video on the sequence, and you then want captions made, and you click on the transcribe option, and it goes out onto the web and transcribes your video, and then applies those captions, and then you just edit where it goes. You don't have to type out the whole thing. And most people are finding that if you're doing straight American English, it works pretty good. There's been some notes that from some users in the UK that it doesn't always pick up their words, and it does not do the UK spellings. And so it's American. I saw someone from Germany that was going, well, the German version works okay. They were much more impressed with the American English version, but the German version worked okay. And saw someone that was in Arabic that was going, this is not working.
Well, remember that this is also a great way to curb piracy, because the software has to talk out and make connections in incoming and outgoing connections now in order to use the service, right? So guys that have cracked software are going to have a really difficult time using this service. The other feature that's coming is speech to text, right? Which is well, I'm sure you've seen it. It's quite incredible, and that's coming soon. Probably at Max, it's not out yet. That's something that's undercover at the moment, but it's being worked on. But it's a really amazing piece of technology.
So if someone wanted to go to the public beta and access this software to start playing with it, can you give us a link, maybe? Type it into the
no, you just go to your Creative Cloud desktop app. See, I've got it here. And you just come down on the left side, it says beta apps down here. And you click on the beta apps, and you will see all the lists. And and they're updating the betas. A lot of them get updated with a new build almost daily. And so I updated yesterday, but this morning there's another update available for Premiere Pro. And it will show beta apps for any app that you have installed from, although it's not showing me beta apps for, I should be able to get the, the Photoshop beta, I think, is also public beta these days. But at any rate, it's showing me I have Premiere Pro, After Effects, Audition, and of course Illustrator, Rush, and Character Animator.
Yeah, I see Photoshop's not on there at the moment.
Yeah.
Rush, After Effects, Character, and Audition. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
So, and that's available for anyone just through your Creative Cloud desktop.
Great.
Yeah, you have to run Creative. You have to have the Creative Cloud desktop in order to access the beta.
Okay. Well, I think that's great, guys. Thank you so much. Interesting things. And I want to remind everybody that we would love to have you join our Creativity-Hive community by joining the Creativity-Hive Inner Circle Facebook group. Creativity-Hive Inner Circle. And then you'll know when we're going to go live. You'll know and tips and tricks. All right. We will sign off.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Neil. Bye, Maria.